you she tell me she's single tonight.
I know you ain't brought your girlfriend with you. Don't leave her alone. The way I'm feeling right now is the issue. True, she don't want it. I'm 100, I'm 100, keep it 100 right now. I'm 100, I'm 100, keep it 100.
I wasn't even paying no attention, but I got you in trouble with your boyfriend. Tell the waitress, go and get attention. Keep it 100, he don't want no issues. Nah, 100, I'm straight it up. She on it now. Try and see the tattoos on my stomach. Got shots in the air with a gun at. Swear the head on her look real bright. Bet you she tell me she's single tonight. Better cuff your chick for the rest of her life. I take a 0 to 100.
I know you ain't brought your girlfriend with you. Don't leave her alone. The way I'm feeling right now is the issue. True, she don't want it. I'm 100, I'm 100, keep it 100 right now. I'm 100, I'm 100, keep it 100. 100, 100. Put me on the flyer, I'm the one they coming for. Dollar, 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 baby, grind it on me slow. And since I'm from the Bay, you don't gotta tell me when to go. Ay. I got her begging me to stay now. Send a text, but she slide like a playground. One time for the pay now. She my buddy with the money, she a PayPal. That's my baby with the KKK. She want it right now, she don't wanna wait. No, make no mistake, this is grown man B.I. Hang with the rubber band man on the T.I. I know you ain't brought your girlfriend with you. Hey, sweet baby, leave her alone. The way I'm feeling right now is the issue. True, she don't want it. I'm 100, I'm 100, keep it 100 right now. I'm 100, I'm 100, keep it 100.
I got a lot of options while you in the cut. Taking straight shots and she going up. She a goon, gobble up, then she pull her panties up. Bet 100 double up, count it down, need the luck. It's money on my mind. Mansion, no condos, no time for combos. I need that pronto, be real, don't lie though. Show me them tongue tricks, only you and I know. Go around and get your rent paid. I'm straightforward, no gas brakes. I be fresh like it's court date. It's gonna be a good day when dollar signs say.
I know you ain't brought your girlfriend with you. Don't leave her alone. The way I'm feeling right now is the issue. True, she don't want it. I'm 100, I'm 100, keep it 100 right now. I'm 100, I'm 100, keep it 100.
Bet you she tell me she's single tonight.
Business Lab on Genie FM 92.5.
Hello and welcome back to Business Lab with myself, Bhavna. Last week on the show, we had a lovely young lady called Mahima Lalji, the founder of Do Dreamy, and we talked about the beauty and cosmetics industry and had some great advice for young people wanting to start a new business in Tanzania. If you missed the show last week, you can visit the Genie FM YouTube channel where you can watch a replay and catch up on Instagram and all social media platforms as well. So today we have a really interesting discussion actually, and we've noticed obviously there's an increase in trade and tech and innovation, but also brands and designs in Tanzania. And with the growing demands of all these technologies and innovations that are happening, there's also a need to understand how these businesses are protected by law. So in today's show, we'll be talking about intellectual property laws in Tanzania, as well as discussing how these laws can protect investments in Tanzania. So today on the show, we're delighted to have Mr. Sunday Damugoba, Managing Counsel at ABC Attorneys, and an advocate of the High Court of Tanzania. He's also a local content and compliance consultant, a UK chartered trademark attorney and investments advisor for opportunities in Tanzania and Zanzibar. He has recently been recognized by WTR 1000 2023 as recommended trademarks attorney in Tanzania, and he's the chairperson of the Intellectual Property Committee of the East Africa Law Society. Sunday, welcome to the show. I've given people a bit of a gist about who you are and what you do, but it'd be lovely for them to hear more about.
All right.
It'd be lovely for them to hear more about you from yourself.
All right. So first of all, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. It's a very interesting topic. It's one of those topics that are very dear to me. Yes, you have introduced me, so I'll not go into that. But just to add, I'm also the chairperson of the Intellectual Property Committee under the East African Law Society. But I'm also a governing council member of Zanzibar Law Society. But apart from that, I head the IP department on my law firm, and the TMT as well, which cuts for telecommunications, media, and also technology. And we've been in practice for about 10 years now. We have an office in Dar es Salaam, and then we have newly opened a branch in Dodoma as well, and we are opening in Arusha as of July. And we are also in Zanzibar.
You're taking over?
Yes, we are.
You just celebrated your 10 years, right?
Yes, we celebrated our 10 years anniversary, and we are going to invite you as well. So we're going to do like a mini dinner sometime in September when we have our symposium. So because we normally have a symposium every year.
You had one last year that was really well received.
Yes.
You talked a lot about IP there as well.
Yes.
We'll come to that in a minute.
Brilliant.
But I mean, you know, when I was doing the research on IP, people might not know what IP stands for, so I'll just say it's intellectual property. According to the Global Innovation Index released by the World Intellectual Property Organization, Tanzania has emerged among the leading countries in innovation in Africa for 2022. And every day in Tanzania, we hear about new businesses coming up. All these tech companies, there's Nala, there's Silabu, there's all these companies coming up. But there's also creative industries, our music industry is growing. But then there's also trade. Yeah. And, there are new products, brands, designs being launched, especially by SMEs. Like SMEs is probably the largest growing sector right now in Tanzania. And very few actually understand intellectual property rights and what rights they actually have, or the benefits that they could have from learning about intellectual property. So first off, if we can start off with, what is intellectual property? If you can tell our listeners what it actually means, maybe the different types that it covers.
All right. I completely agree with you in the fact that everything is opening up now. And by that, it means that since the government is doing so much in terms of now making sure that trade is increasing, but also that curtails into now the rights that pertains to trading, because IP is one of those. Because when you are trading now, you have your goods and services, you have your trademarks, your copyright, and your patents. Now that is what curtails into what IP is. So when you talk of intellectual property, that is in a layman's language, so that someone who is listening in now would understand it's the right you have to protect your creativity or your creativeness. So when we speak of a creative mind, so you have something that you have created, it's in your mind, so that's the intellectual property. Now apart from that, we can break it down into categories now. So you have what we call copyright and neighboring rights. So that is what we call like the first one. So we speak of like so artistic works. So when you publish a book and whatnot, that cuts into what a copyright is. So it protects your inventiveness in terms of like you have created something, you have written a book, now it's in a changeable form, and then you want to put it. Let's say you have drawn something, or you have done your graphics, it's in tangible form, that goes into copyright. But then we have another branch which we call industrial property. That is the second one, of which where we look at goods and services. Mostly when you try now to distinguish your goods from other goods. So you say like, let's say Coca-Cola. So Coca-Cola is different from Pepsi, for example. Mjini FM is different from, I don't know, a radio in UK, whatever. But so you have a Mjini FM, that's a brand, that's trademarks. So trademarks comes on industrial. So trademarks is what protects your goods and distinguish from other goods and services as well. So when you talk of trademarks, you have trademarks and service marks. So like Mjini FM is a service mark because you're offering services.
Okay.
But then also you have what we now categorize as when you have an invention, you invent something, and that something has like an industrial capability. Now that is where we go into patents. When you have actually invented something, and that's something, let's say you do, like if you talk of a car or you talk of a phone, it has a lot of patents within it. So that is patent, and those are like the different categories. And then you have other things of which some of them, they are not here yet in Tanzania, but somehow, like when you speak of plant breeding, that also comes into play, because now we have a law actually in place that caters for that. But also you can think things of like trade dress, of which we don't have a law that actually cater for, but it's on the making, so it's going to cater for that. We are talking of industrial designs as well. We don't have a law as far that protects it, but we can actually protect it, but we'll talk about it probably later in details. But we have that also fits into what we call intellectual property. So intellectual property protects all these things from your creative mind, from when you want to write something, when you want to invent something, but it goes even down to things like now you have designed something and then you want to protect it so that it's different from someone else.
That's really interesting, because obviously people sometimes mix up trademark, copyright. They think it all means the same thing. But I know that as a creative, a lot of people don't realize that when you take photographs, for example, the copyright remains with the photographer because you're the creative. So when your photograph is then used by a publication without permission, they're in breach of copyright. Exactly. I mean, that's the simplest terms we put it.
Yeah.
But a trademark is different because my brand is not trademarked.
Yeah.
So if someone used my branding somewhere, they're not really breaching anything.
Yes.
Because I've not trademarked it. So what institutions are responsible for the registration of these IP rights? Are there different organizations that you go to, like if you're registering for patents and if you're registering for copyright, or are they the same place you go to?
All right, so for Tanzania mainland, we actually have, for trademarks, patents, we have what we call BRELA, so Business Registration and Licensing Agency, which you have a registrar of trademarks and a registrar of patents. So that's where you get to register your trademarks and your patents. But when it comes to copyright, we have COSOTA, which was before it was the Copyright Association, but now it has changed. Now it's called the Copyright Office of Tanzania.
Okay.
And it's interesting in the sense that now since we have COSOTA, it should be like called COOTA, because now that
no
expert is yes. So now it's a Copyright Office, and what it does is it's been differentiated between now it won't be doing more of collections. Collections will be done by CMOs, which are set up. There is a law that has been put in place, and there are regulations that are coming underway. So what you see last time in terms of collection of royalties and whatnot, that is what is going to change then again. So at COSOTA now will be only for making sure that you are registering your product, you are registering your copyright, and it's protected under COSOTA. In case of anything, you want to go to court, they can come and attest that this is our member, this they have a copyright with us to register, so that means you are protected. And then apart from the royalties and whatnot, that will be done by CMOs.
And are there various CMOs? So there's a few?
Yes, so the law allows various CMOs, and as an artist you are allowed to go and join whichever CMO.
Okay.
So they are being set up. I know at least 2 or 3 that have already been set up and been registered under umbrella as non-profits. So they are there, and then now once the regulations have been passed, then they can now start advertising, also like telling people and making them aware that the collecting management organizations are here for you to come, so that we can collect on your behalf and then distribute them to you guys, depending on what platform they get them from.
That's fantastic. It's good that they're doing that, because I know there were some discrepancies with COSOTA, which we'll come to a little bit later. So when we talk about patenting, what is the process? Because obviously, if I have an innovation and I want to patent it, in it varies from country to country, obviously, and worldwide people have different processes for patenting. But what are the terms of validity, for instance, and how do I go about actually patenting my product?
All right, so when it comes to patent, especially in Tanzania, it's a bit different, but not more or less the same because we borrowed the British system, so to speak. Yes. So we have the Patent Act, which is a very old law. They are looking into how they can actually change into go with what is changing now, but it's been enough in the sense that there have been a lot of patents that have been registered, especially of recent, because there wasn't much awareness about it. But the registry, BRELA, the Register of Patent has been doing so much in terms of BRELA, the CEO trying to see on how now they can push the knowledge out there. You see BRELA everywhere in these conferences. Even the last time we went to South Africa last month, they were even there. They had a stall where we're doing a business forum between South Africa and Tanzanian businessmen. Wow. Yes. So they are there trying to see on how now, like the topic you're talking about now, how you can bridge the gap between, okay, you have manufacturing plants, you have, they have their patents and whatnot. Now you have Tanzania, which is coming up, then how do you bridge that? So you see that knowledge that has been disseminated, it's been a good factor for people to go and patent. So the process is very easy and the fees are very, very, very cheap. Like I think it's about 20,000 for patents.
Oh,
yes. When you're
very
doing
minimal
your filing.
fee.
Yes, very minimal fee. And it's regulated and also when you are doing your patent. So the difference is first of all, like for a patent, there are tests that have to be done before you do your application. So you will do your application. There are forms to be filled in where you have to highlight, and you have to highlight. So what is the patent name? So what are you claiming? What are the descriptions and all those things? What are the drawings? So if they have to, and the law is very clear on how the drawing should be, the centimeters and all. So it's very
particular.
Very particular. But also, so when you are doing that, and then you have applied for your patent, you have filled in the application. Once you are taking the registry, what they do a formal examination. Right. So they just look at it, and then they will see if it meets all the criteria. Like it's novel, there is novelty, it's very new. No one has done it before. Because when you're doing patent, you should have, you are not supposed to have told anyone about it or posted it anyway. It has to be novel. But then they will test if there is that inventive step. Is it able, like if you are someone who has been in that space, you will be able to look at it and say, what is the inventiveness? Is it there? Because if there isn't that, then they will push it to what we call utility model.
Right.
Yes, but after that, then they will look at the industrial applicability. If you were to take your invention to a manufacturing plant, would you be able to produce a product from it? So they look at that, and then once they are like very okay from the goods of it, like you have done the forms, they're fine, you have the drawings and everything, the formal will be done. Then the substantive one is when they will look at all these things, is applicability and whatnot. And then they'll say, okay, now it's good, it's approved, it's going to advertisement, so that people, if they give that to the public, so the public look at it and say, if maybe there is an objection, like this invention, I have the similar one, I have registered it, so you're objecting it. So if you don't object it, then you have a grant after 2 months. Then you get your grant, you have your certificate, and that gives you validity for 20 years, as you have to pay your annuity fees.
Okay.
Every year you have to pay annuity fees, so that you keep it going. Yes.
So it's valid for 20 years.
Yes.
And is it different in Zanzibar?
Yes. So Zanzibar is a whole different spectrum. Yes.
I mean, we're talking a little bit about that in the next section. But a question before we take a short break: why do you think IP rights are crucial to Tanzanian SMEs? Right now, with everything opening up, like you said, why is this particular time so important for SMEs to learn about IP, for their IP rights?
To be honest, I think it's the pivotal time for them to know about IP rights, because when you speak of SMEs, actually we would say they are what is running, they are running the economy at the moment. Because now you have a lot of SMEs. If you look at the banks, most of banks now, they're targeting SMEs. They're putting all these what you'd call like programs or like campaigns. Like you have CRDB is doing the Umbeju, and then you have also Stanbic Bank. Also, they have a program whereby they will take very, very small and medium enterprises, and they give them the ability now to scale up in as far as their business are concerned. So yes, and they've set up a very good sort of like studio of some sort, but it's in Masaki, where now they do the incubation of them. So they incubate them and they try and assist them to make sure that because all these SMEs, they don't even have banks and whatnot, but now they do that, and then the legal part comes. So we partnered up with them actually even last year when we were doing a symposium to see and how we can educate them on the importance of, now you have your bank, okay, you're bankable now, but then how do you protect your product? So SMEs have a lot of these products that they're building up. So they'll manufacture, let's say, tomato paste or things like that, and then the branding part, you have to do your trademarks, but then trademark as well, you have to do, let's say, when you are doing your design. But design, you cannot register it in Tanzania. For designing, you have to do it under ARIPO. That's a whole different
different institute completely.
Yes. But then now the importance of it is that we normally tell them, once you have a product, okay, you have a company. There is what when it comes to IP and protecting and making sure that as an SME you take advantage of it. Since now we are doing all this trading and the country is opening up, you have to make sure that what do you explore when it comes to IP? When you speak of trademarks, copyright, and patents, we see that if you have what we call, these are intangible assets, yes? Mm-hmm. So you have those assets. So you have these assets, and how are those assets going to make sure that your business sustains and flows? Now, I always tell them that the advantages are like 6 or 7. Just to be brief, I'm not sure how much time we have before.
Go for it.
All right. So I would say the first one is it gives you that strong market position, because now you have a trademark, you have registered it, and it caters for your product. Now it means that everyone in the market will know that this is the product, they recognize it, and it distinguishes from someone else. So as an SME, that is a very important thing. But also it gives you higher returns, because now since you have invested so much in research and development, now you are sure that my product, whenever I'm taking it out there and I have a trademark of it, it adds value to your brand. But also, we feel like it adds also to additional income. You see, when you own an IP as an asset, you can license it, we call assignment, you can assign it to someone else, so that's more like selling. But since it's a brand, it's an IP asset, when you are doing, let's say you are selling your company, you can sell it with your IP assets, and someone will buy that. But also, it gives you that bargaining power, we say. Because when you have an IP assets, you can easily now, when you're trying to negotiate with someone, you say, yes, I want to come into business with you, but I have also registered my trademark. I have my brand is protected. My brand is protected, then it's easy now for you to bargain with someone. So it gives that leverage as an SME, so it gives you power. But also, it makes your competitors stay away from you and your product, which I feel is a good thing as an SME. But also, it gives that positive image to people when they look at your brand, they see it's protected. But then when you say like, hey, let's say ABC Attorneys is a brand, it's there, it's out there. But when someone look at that and they know that it's registered, because when we did our ABC Attorneys, we put an R sign at the top, which means registered.
The registered,
Yes, so that gives consumers confidence as well. So I feel SMEs need to adhere to that, because it's very important when you are cater for your IP assets. Now you are trading, so that means you're protected, and it's the best move you can do.
That's fantastic. There's a lot to take in the first segment, and I think there's so much interesting stuff that we've talked about here, and that will be really useful to our listeners, especially if they're an SME. It's now time for another short break, and after the break we'll be discussing some of the IP laws and why they're vital for Tanzania when it comes to attracting foreign investment and trade deals. So keep it right here on Genie FM, and we are taking you to our next song, which is LL Cool J.
went through this before, acting like the L's can't bag them no more. Nightgown dragging on the heated marble floor. Flash Cartier when you open up the door. Slide these on, baby. So butter, still relate to the gutter. Just your lifestyle's different, spirit uplifted. Fell in love with a cat who's gifted. Journey back to paradise, damn I missed it. Pop a bottle, light a purple candle. I got something that you can't quite handle. That's why you love me. Pour bubbly, glow from the flame, make your skin shine lovely. I'm singing, baby. Touch it, why don't ya? 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 Hey girl, oh girl, hey girl, I wanna rock your world. Paradise is very nice. Yeah. Next phase is this. Black sand, Tahiti, 10 days to reminisce. God's my witness. I paid the price for paradise, so I'm living this. I never limit myself, the L's fearless. Lay back while I illuminate the darkness. Like it smooth, don't you? Make it move, won't you? Think I won't? Take it to your peak, I know the mother cats don't, and it won't stop. This is beyond paper. First I get your mind right, then I might drape ya. Never pimpin', raise my girls well. Young thoroughbreds get schooled by Uncle LL. C double, L tattooed on the bubble. I lay the mink down, let you walk over a puddle. True love is so rare, but don't you worry, I ain't going nowhere. You know why? Paradise is very nice. Belly, one hand on the jelly, at the telly on the celly. Get that money, Ellie, please believe it. If the mind can conceive it, then the man can achieve it. You gotta breathe it, and I breathe deep. I'm one with the universe. Minimum 10% go to God first. Lay back, baby, close your eyes. Ice on the pinky finger, froze your thighs. So much shake, baby, the waterbed fries. Walk around nude in the sweet yelling, recognize. Do your dance, baby, pour me a glass. It feels so good to have the world in the smash. Touch it, why don't you? 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 Hey girl, oh girl, hey girl, I wanna rock your world. Paradise is very nice. Paradise is very nice. Yeah. Gotta keep your eyes on the prize, baby. Sky's the limit. You can see it, you can be it.
Ifanye siku yako iwe ya kipekee kwa kusikiliza habari, muziki na matukio kutoka kila kona. Genie FM ni sehemu sahihi. Kwetu ni kwako.
Thank you for tuning into Business Lab.
Business Lab on Genie FM 92.5.
Welcome back to 92.5 Genie FM. You are talking to me today. I'm your host, Bhavna, and I am speaking to an incredible IP lawyer. And we're talking about all things IP. And we're going to actually mix it up a little bit. And Sunday, if you can talk to our listeners and explain to them a little bit, maybe Swahili as well, of what IP laws they're protected by. Obviously, IP is quite a difficult one to explain as a term, but maybe copyright, patenting, things like that, they may understand a bit more about.
Sawa, asante sana. Sasa in brief of tulichokuwa tunakiongelea kwa dakika kama 30 zilizopita ni kwamba tulikuwa naangalia especially kwa hawa wafanyabiashara wadogo na wa level ya kati, tunaangalia ni jinsi gani kwamba haki zao wanaweza wakazilinda sana kwenye bidhaa zao wanazotengeneza. Kwa hiyo tunaangalia jinsi gani zile alama za biashara wanaweza kutumia, kwa mfano nembo ya biashara kwenye biashara yako. Kama unatengeneza labda ni bidhaa ya maembe umeyasindika yakaa kwenye chupa, ile bidhaa yako. Kitu tunaangalia pia jinsi gani ambao kwa wasanii, waandishi wanaweza wakajiprotect au wakajilinda kwenye na vitu mambo ya haki miliki. Sasa haki miliki na zile haki shirikishi ama producers wote tunaangalia wao kama wafanya biashara wana kampuni zao, wanawezaje wakaangalia kwamba mimi naweza jinsi kujiprotect kwa copyright, ambapo tukasema kuna ofisi ya haki miliki ambayo ipo sasa hivi ambayo inatoka KOSOTA, lakini pia kuna wasajili pia wa hizi alama za biashara ambao ni BRELA ambao wanafanya kwa hapa Tanzania bara, ambao tofauti na Tanzania visiwani ambazo tuna tofauti, sheria ziko tofauti kabisa. Lakini tukaongelea pia aina nyingi za sheria ambazo zipo hapa, kuanzia kwenye sheria za kulinda kwenye bunifu, ambao bunifu na maisha hizo patents ambazo mtu anaweza akawa ana ubunifu wake, mtu amesema mimi nimeunda labda gari au nimeunda simu, pale tunaingilia kwenye mambo hayo ya patent. Kwa hiyo inarasha tunaangalia pia hizo jinsi gani naweza kuwasaidia wafanyabiashara wadogo, angalie mimi nikiwa nimesajili nembo yangu, nimesajili maana kunisaidia nikienda kwa mfano nataka niuze biashara yangu, nikiwa nimesajili na certificate yangu inanisaidia kuongeza value au thamani ya ile biashara yangu au product yangu. Nikiwa pia naenda kwenye soko inanitofautisha mimi na bidhaa ya mtu mwingine, kwa mtu anajua hii bidhaa yangu, hii sio ya mtu mwingine. Pia nasaidia mtu kujua kwamba hii biashara, hii bidhaa yangu ni ya thamani kwa sababu naweza nikainunua kwa sababu imesajiliwa na inaaminika. With the fact kwamba nimeweza kuifanyia hivyo ni kitu kizuri. Kwa hiyo tukasema kwamba hizi wafanyabiashara wadogo na kati ya SMEs ni bora wakaangalia jinsi gani wanaweza kutumia hizi ya kimiliki, haki bunifu, lakini pia jinsi ya kusajili nembo na alama za biashara ziwasaidie waweze kulinda biashara zao na biashara zao ziweze kukua zaidi.
Na haki miliki ni copyright.
Yes,
so,
copyright.
So kama mpiga picha tulikuwa tunaongea mapema, mpiga picha copyright yao wanakaa nao.
Yes.
So a lot of photographers piga picha wengi tu tunao Tanzania.
Yes.
Hawajui hiyo.
Yes.
Wanachukua picha they just sell it.
Basi,
wanauza tu basi tumeishana. Lakini kujua hizi vitu ni muhimu sana kwa sababu kama umesema tukitaka kuuza biashara it gives us leverage. Inatupa hiyo uaminifu pia kwamba this business has been doing really well, it's registered, it has copyright, it has IP, it's protected by IP, na inaweza kupa hiyo uaminifu and thamani inaweza kwenda juu
kabisa.
Thank you.
Asante sana.
So Zanzibar na Tanzania IP laws zetu zinatofautiana kidogo.
Yes, sasa IP laws zinatofautiana kidogo. Kwa mfano tukianza tu haraka tukiangalia kwa mfano kwenye trademarks pekee yake ambazo ni alama za biashara, sisi Tanzania huku usajili ni ule kwamba ukienda unasajili, unapeleka application yako, register na iangalia, akishaangalia akakupa acceptance kwamba ameikubali, inabidi tangazwe kwa siku 60. Baada ya siku 60 kama hamna mtu ameobject kwamba no hatutaki hii, mimi naipinga kwa sababu inafanana na ya kwangu asajiliwe, au naipinga kwa sababu mimi nisajili, au naipinga au sio ya kwake anataka asajili ili kuwazuia watu wengine, hana hata product na vitu kama hivyo, register atakuja mtaitwa, mtasikilizwa, alafu mtafanya argument, itatoka decision whether uendelee au usiendelee. Lakini kama ikipita haijazuiwa, ina maana ni unakuja kupata trademark yako certificate. Lakini sasa kwa Tanzania huko sisi ni miaka 7 ndio unapata ile protection yako ya mwanzo. Baada hapo unaweza kurenew kwa miaka 10. Zanzibar tofauti yake ni the reverse. Unaanza kwa miaka 10 kwanza protection, alafu unaweza ukarenew baada ya miaka 7. That's the difference. Lakini kwenye corporate pia tuna tofauti. Sisi kuna KOSOTA huku bara, lakini sisi pia kule visiwani kuna kitu kinaitwa KOSOZA which is tofauti na huku. Ingawa sheria zinakaribiana. Lakini Zanzibar pia wameadvance kidogo, tunasema kwenye mambo ya protection, especially hapa kwenye mambo ya tunaongelea vitu kama haki miliki na nini. Wana corporate act yao, lakini kuna act nyingine ambayo ni tofauti, Industrial Property Act. Sawa. Ile ilivyokuja mwaka 2008 imeconsolidate kila kitu, imechukua patent na trademark nyingine ambayo ya industrial application industry ambayo sisi huku hatuna. Ingawa huku sisi bara pia kuna mambo ya geographical indications, kuangalia kitu umekinunua bidhaa gani inatoka sehemu fulani, kwamba we identify kwamba kama labda wale Ankole cows ni wa Uganda, unadify kuna product inatoka labda kuna maparachichi ya Tanzania, ni ya Tanzania peke yake, yanalimwa kwa mara 2 kwa mwaka, South Africa labda mara 3 kwa mwaka, kitu kama hicho. Zabibu za Dodoma mara 2 kwa mwaka zinalima, South Africa yenyewe analima mara 1, lakini zina uniqueness. Kwa hiyo tunachoongea sasa kule Zanzibar wenyewe sheria zao hivyo. Sisi huku tunaangalia kuna Trademark and Service Act, tuna Copyright and Neighboring Rights Act, bado na hiyo Patent Act. Kule wenyewe wameconsolidate hiyo Industrial Property Act, lakini hasa wana copyright pia wanaweza kusajili na hizo na hayo mambo ya patent. Lakini pia ukiangalia wote uzuri wetu Zanzibar na na bara tuna ile kitu kwamba kuna kwa mfano patents sheria yetu inasema kwamba ikisajiliwa Uingereza tayari inaweza ikasajiliwa huku moja kwa moja na ku accepted, lakini pia industrial design tunasajili aripo zinaingia moja kwa moja, kwa sababu ile ya Zanzibar bado hauna regulations za au kanuni za kufanya sheria ifanye kazi kwenye mambo ya industrial designs na nini. Lakini in a nutshell ni hivyo, tuna different laws, na usajili hapa Tanzania bara hauko protected Zanzibar. Lazima usajili Zanzibar na lazima usajili hapa ipate protection yako ya trademark, patents, copyright. There are two separate things.
Two separate entities.
Kwa sababu it's not a union matter.
That's interesting. Kwa sababu you would think because it's Tanzania, but obviously ni two different governments.
Yes.
So you have to register as two separate,
yes. So we normally advise our clients, wengi waga wajui kwamba ukisema Tanzania ni Tanzania, yes we one country, but when tunafanya union yetu ilikuwa kwamba Zanzibar ina vitu vyake na Tanzania bara ina vitu vyake ambavyo sio union matters, vingine tuna share pamoja.
Lakini hii walivyo combine naona ni vizuri.
Yes, ni vizuri na ni recent pia, kwa sababu kiangalia sheria yetu ambao ndio tunasema ni revised edition ya mwaka 2002 wakasamba baadaye 2019, lakini ya zamani ya tangu mwaka 1986. Ingawa unakuta kwa mfano kwenye corporate sheria yetu pia ni ya zamani, lakini ilikuja wanaiongezea hizo regulations na nini kuisaidia, ila we need a new copyright act ili iweze kuja kuna. Lakini Zanzibar sasa they are going in that direction. Sisi hatuna industrial designs act, tukana industrial property act, lakini ni ya zamani sana, afu baadaye I don't know what happened, it wasn't operational. We had what you used to call ordinances.
Well, we have you Sunday. We have you Sunday.
Yes. Na uzuri ni kwamba sasa hivi hata juzi nilikuwa naongea na wa registrar kwa wa BRELA. They are doing amazing things in terms of they have done laws tayari washazipitia, zinakuja sheria mpya na zitatoka very soon.
Oh, that's good.
Very soon. Na pia the difference, Zanzibar wenyewe you cannot file online. Huku bara you can do online through ORI system.
BRELA kila kitu sasa hivi ni online.
Yes, online.
Lakini Zanzibar you have to do written application.
Yes. Zanzibar ni a company tu ndio wanafanya online, lakini kwenye trademarks hizi copyright bado ni manual. But mfumo upo, wanasema upo tayari, but ku launch sasa integration hiyo very soon lakini.
Okay. That's good to know.
Okay.
So you have mentioned a repo.
Yes.
I've also heard of WIPO, WIPO, TRIPS.
Yeah.
So IP laws zetu, are they in line with these international standards? Kwa sababu as you've mentioned, tuna laws zingine ziko za zamani sana.
Yeah.
Na zingine ziko kama za Zanzibar, it's a bit more, but do they match with the international standards? Kama sisi tumechukua patent law yetu, tumechukua kidogo kutoka British law.
Yeah.
What's your opinion?
To be honest, my opinion would be kwamba yes, we have ratified these conventions zote. Ile sio WIPO convention wakati huo 1960s, patent cooperation treaty, PCT applications we did, TRIPS agreement hizo zote we are part of WIPO, Banjul protocol huko kote tupo. Sasa WIPO pia tumefanya nao na hizo TRIPS agreement kupitia WTO. Zote tumefanya. We are a member of WIPO, we are a very active member. Hata ukiangalia juzi tulikuwa na seminar iliandaliwa na watu wa BRELA, walikuja watu wa WIPO. Tukaangalia registration ambazo zinafanyika. Tanzania we are very good kwenye trademarks na nini, lakini kwenye patent tuko nyuma kwa sababu ya elimu na nini, lakini pia kwa sababu ya sheria zetu. Ndio tumeratify na nini, lakini bado sasa hatujazibadilisha zile sheria zetu sasa ziendane na mambo yanavyoelekea sasa hivi. Ukiangalia tunaangalia jinsi gani kuweza kuprotect, kwa mfano tunaongelea mambo ya kwenye technology space. Sisi tunapata wateja wengi wanakuja na mobile applications, we are looking to protecting them and tuna advise kwamba inakuaje na kwa nini, kwa sababu nyingine ni open source. Sasa how do you protect? Wengi hawajui, lakini hakuna sasa sheria za kuweza kubackup. Lakini pia as we are going along, we are looking at so you can protect about kupitia copyright, tuangalie na nini, tuangalie your user interface na vitu kama hivyo na trademark brand. Lakini kiangalia kwenye hizi agreement ambazo tumesajili, Tanzania naona kama bado tuko nyuma. Sio kwenye sheria tu pekee yake, hata kwenye filings. Sisi kama Aripo, kwa mfano sisi ni agent. Mimi ni agent wa Aripo, our firm is agent wa Aripo. We file for accounts kupitia Aripo, ambao wana designate kwenye hizi countries zote zipo, ambayo Kenya pekee yake nadhani East Africa ipo. Tuko Rwanda, Uganda tupo, Tanzania, Kenya wapo. Lakini hata kuna wengine naitwa OAPI pia, ambao ni ya kule zile za West Africa French speaking countries. Lakini zote nikija kuangalia bado I feel like we are members yet, we have ratified, yes, but we need to do more.
And that brings me on to my question about when you talked about Kenya not being a member. But in Kenya, unaweza use IP as collateral, whereas we don't do that here. Hapa Tanzania hatufanyi. I mean, you know, if you the EAC intellectual property policy, it's encouraging innovation. It's saying, okay, you know what? We want to promote industrial and commercial use of technical innovations and contribute to the social, economic, industrial development of the East African community.
Yeah.
So it's worth noting that we don't present at the moment, we don't recognize IP as collateral. But in Kenya they do.
Yeah.
Do you think that might change? Do you think that, because when you talk about earlier about tunaweza kama it will give you value, itaongeza thamani if it's IP.
Yeah.
But if we can't use it as collateral, then it makes it a bit tricky.
Yes, a bit tricky. And it's commendable kwamba Kenya wenyewe wamefika mbali kidogo. Ile mwaka 2017 walipitisha sheria ambayo kwenye mambo ya movable and immovable properties, na wakagrant hiyo kwamba unaweza kufanya hivyo. Ingana wenyewe wamekuwa na face challenges zipo. They've gone a step further and says kwamba now they have allowed it, but it's been challenging in terms of implementing it. Sababu gani? Ambayo I feel like na sisi pia we need to learn from them. Yes, we should have that, especially naongelea wa SMEs. Hawa wanahitaji na wenyewe pia waweze, mtu ana biashara yake ndogo, ameenda kusajili trademark yake. Biashara yake ni ndogo lakini imekaa kwa miaka 3, ana mzunguko mzuri wa biashara. The books zinaonekana vizuri, yuko bankable pia. Anaonekana kabisa ameanza kupata return on investment yake. Issue inakuja ni kwamba kwa nini sasa asiende ile kutumia hiyo IP as trademark yake kaenda kuombea labda mkopo au akaweka collateral kwa mtu bana, mimi naacha hii lakini nipe milioni 10 ni scale up business yangu niweze kunani, especially tunaongelea hapa kwenye hawa inventors sasa hivi. Mtu anakuja ni a new startup, anakuja ni toba kwenye fintech space, anataka sasa yeye mimi nimekuja sina hela, hata scaling sijafanya, funders sijapana, sina angel investors wa nini, nimesajili trademark yangu, I'm looking for that. Lakini trademark yangu na value ambayo nionayo, naamini nikipata hata milioni 3 naweza nikaanza nikawa na office na nini na watu vitu kama hivyo. Lakini change inakuja ni kwenye watu tunaita, kwa sababu when you are doing collateral lazima kuwe na watu wanakuja kufanya valuation na nini. Sasa IP valuers ni issue kubwa. Kenya ni issue kubwa, kwetu pia ni issue kubwa. Hamna watu wenyewe. Tuna watu wa value ambao wana value property, lakini kwenye ku value intangible assets hiyo becomes an issue. Sababu lazima ufundishwe, lazima usome na hujue now how do you quantify.
So we are lacking.
So we are lacking that. We need to go to that space, but we should learn kwamba wenzetu wamefail hapo, wanaenda. Lakini sasa na sisi we need tunahitaji sheria kwa sababu it's high time. Sasa hivi Mheshimiwa Rais anafungua, anasema nchi nataka open up business zije. Sasa kisha open business pia inabidi sasa na sisi pia tuangalie how sasa kama lawyers tuna push, lakini pia government agencies waangalie kama BRELA jinsi gani ya kuipitisha sheria.
Na it's not just SMEs.
Yes.
Hata watu wanakuja kuinvest.
Yes.
They also want to know kwamba they are protected.
Exactly.
So if we have that in place, wanajua kwamba sisi tumekuja tumeestablish, sasa tunataka kuuza, that we have this in place.
Yes.
So actually what I'm taking away from that is we need more young people to start learning about IP.
Kabisa.
Yani tujifunze, tujitahidi kidogo ku educate in IP, and maybe get the valuers, as you said, you know.
Yes.
So last January, you know, just talking about COSOTA earlier, the distributed royalties, I think it was about 312 million to about 1,123 artists. But there was an issue with this. The royalties were received like in different ways, and there was a bit of discrepancy in how they were distributed. And I know there's a huge drive towards copyright at the moment. It was at your synopsium last year, actually, that the Deputy Minister also for Information and Communication, Kundo Matthew, directed the Copyright Office to work closely with government institutions, as we were talking, to improve royalty collection. what is the process that's lacking there, and how can we fix it? Like, how can we create value for the creative industry, for instance, using the laws that we already have?
Yes, kweli kabisa. Even ulivyokuwa unasema kwenye our symposium, alivyokuja mheshimiwa naibu waziri, alikuwa anamwakilisha mheshimiwa waziri Nape. Kwa hiyo mheshimiwa naibu waziri Kundo aliongelea hicho kwamba KOSOTA wajaribu kuona jinsi gani kuboresha. Na pia kwenye direction na KOSOTA nao walikubali, na ni kweli, na kuna changamoto walizielezea. Na pia sisi tukajaribu pia kuona, kwa sababu tuna represent pia producers na represent wasanii wengi tu, kuanzia kina P-Funk, the old ones ambao walikuwa kwenye industry, they know the industry very well, mpaka tu the latest ones wote. Kwa hiyo tunao watu wengi. Sasa the issue inayokuja kubwa ambayo nimekuja kuiona mimi, ambao na KOSOTA nao walikuwa naiongelea, ni kwamba wametoa ile miraba, na it's the first time muonekana imetolewa mingi, kwa sababu the government now has put it in place. Sababu KOSOTA first it was sort of like it wasn't well funded zamani, kwa hiyo ilikuwa ni shida kidogo. So kwamba natetea, lakini naongea the reality.
Yeah, of course.
Ili tuweza sasa vis-a-vis kwamba ni haki.
This is the situation in lots of government organizations.
Exactly. Sasa wakati hata alikuwa ni hapo anakaa hapa tu hapa Mikocheni, baadaye baada ya kuja hapo wakati wa awamu ya 5 ilivyokuja, wakabadilisha, wakaiondoa kwenye wizara, ikatoka viwanda na biashara, sasa hivi imepeleka kwenye wizara ya habari, ambapo sasa ndio ina angalau inakata for that. Lakini kule pia sasa kwenye michezo na kila kitu ndio inaingia KOSOTA napokuepo kwenye utamaduni sana na michezo. Sasa utamaduni sana na michezo kiangalia, baada ya kuifanya hivyo imeipa nguvu, lakini sasa hivi for the first time KOSOTA pia wamepewa budget nzuri ambayo imekuwa wakiwa pia kuna huu mfuko wa utamaduni upo. So the government is doing, especially government ya 6 inafanya a lot of things. Sasa kwenye hii miraba ilikuwa ni ya kwanza kupush, kwa sababu nakumbuka tulikaa vikao vingi like 3 years back, tumekaa na watu kuangalia jinsi gani kupeleka Ikulu hizi, tumekaa na watu wa TRA na kuangalia kwamba serikali inapata hela nyingi sana pale, lakini they are not collecting. Kwa sasa hivi wanataka collect, they are pushing for that. And pushing for that, hata ulichokiona juzi ni kidogo, kitakuja kingine kikubwa. Mfumo unabadilika. Lakini changamoto kubwa iliyokuepo, what I was saying was that na KOSOTA alikuwa anasema wasanii wengi tulionao hawajisajili. Kwa nakuta it's mandatory for you, because KOSOTA cannot pay someone they don't know. You are an artist, you have done a song. Wengi wakiingia studio hawajui kwamba kuna rights kwa tofauti. Kwenye wimbo kwa mfano peke yake, kuna mtu anayeandika mashairi. You ana right, ana haki yake. Producer ana haki yake. Anaenda kuimba naye ana haki yake ya kuperform. Lakini kuna sound recording ile pia. Watu hawajuagi who owns it. Kama umeacha master recording imekaa kwa mtu mwingine ni kitu kingine. Sasa ukienda kusajili KOSOTA, wanataka waone all the right holders wako pale kwenye ile nani. Kwa hiyo unawasajili, bwana wimbo ni wangu, aliniandikia huyu, aliproduce huyu na hivi. Kama producer aliondoa rights zake zote, isaini mkataba unapatanisha KOSOTA uone. Sasa wengi waliokuwa na hapa ni wale ambao tayari washajisajili na wanachama wa KOSOTA na wapo, ila wengi walikuwa hawajapeleka taarifa zao. Kwa that ikawa a bit difficult kuwapa watu wengi zaidi, lakini wakafanya awareness, watu wanajua. So we are expecting this time around watapata wengi, lakini wameiondoa sasa KOSOTA kupeleka kwenye semozi, means sasa KOSOTA wao hawata kuepo. Inakuwa even more efficient kwa kuangalia kwa nchi nyingine, wame base kutoka sehemu nyingine what they are doing now. Semozi will be collecting. KOSOTA will just oversee the semozi what they are doing, but semozi now will be able to collect even more, because now it's more like private. It's private, so it's not the government. So you see, but the government still, KOSOTA will still get their share for that kwa ajili ya kuendesha, lakini wale watapata royalties zao kama kawaida.
Perfect. So I have one last question before we break again. The African Continental Free Trade Area. It was very new to me. I didn't know much about it until I spoke to you actually. As far as movements of goods and services are concerned, how is IP affected? Because this is a big, with 55 countries in Africa have signed this. Some of them are still signing. It's not ratified by everybody yet, but we've already ratified, right? What is the concern? Because, if you look at just rice export, it's what, $136 million just rice alone will bring us. But then if it's rice coming from Tanzania, going to all these other countries, how do we protect the intellectual property of our rice, for example?
So not many know about it. So but then they are trying also. They're trying to see on how they can distribute information. Now there's a business forum that is going on in South Africa about this. So you have people from South Africa. The HQ is in Ghana because it's near the UN and whatnot. But they're pushing for one Africa. So we are going to have one currency, we are going to free movements of goods and services, we are going to remove trading, non-trading and non-trading barriers, so trade tariffs, they are going to look into that. Now we have so many regional blocks, we have the East African Community, COMESA, there used to be SADC, tunazo nyingi. But this one is different. What it's trying to do is trying to harmonize everything, and they have protocols in place. Kuna protocol ya IP rights, washai discuss na vitu kama hivyo, na inakaribia kuanza kuwa operational, ambao sasa kwa hawa wafanyabiashara wadogo na SMEs, hata na wakubwa nao pia kutumia sasa hiyo, kwamba tulikuwa tunaongea tangu mwanzo, sajili your trademarks, huo na hakika your brand is protected, kuwa na hakika kwamba bidhaa zako zote, when you are trading, when you are doing goods, movements of goods and services across East Africa. Ukiangalia Tanzania, Mheshimiwa Waziri kijaongea news 2 months ago kwamba Tanzania inaanza kupeleka products zake at least 10 za mwanzo, ingawa tumeshaanza ndani ni kahawa kama sikosei, tumeanza
kahawa tumeshaanza, ndio nimesema hiyo kahawa tumeshaanza. Sasa
kahawa ile ndo napeka tunaanza ku trade nao na nani, kwa unakuta tuna trade na Kenya na Uganda, kitu tumeondoa zile tariffs ambazo kupitia the protocol, so they are testing it out and so far it's been successful. Na pia naangalia pia modality of payments, what we are looking at is we have different currencies, so how do we make sure that if you are trading with another country the currency will remain the same? Kwa hiyo they are doing that, so amefanya kazi na kuna bank na nani sikumbuki bank gani, nadhani Africa Development Bank comes to say,
Africa Development Bank I think is the one that they're discussing.
They're discussing it. So they're putting like a system whereby you can trade online and you can still use your same currency, and that is monitored, but they are going to balance it also that you don't lose. But it's a project that is very it's very key for us, especially Tanzania. Lakini kuangalia how we can trade. Kama SMEs ukiona inafunguka hivyo, it's opening up na wanafanya hivyo. Tanzania tuli host the first nadhani mwaka jana kwenye women na vijana kwenye as African Free Trade Area, wakaongeleza opportunities za women, opportunities za youth kwenye hii. Kwa hiyo tunaangalia jinsi gani ya kuitumia hiyo na kukaa na discussions nyingi sana na ambazo zimesaidia sasa kuangalia kwamba SMEs they should take heed kwenye hii, waingie, washiriki, wa protect their brands. So ukienda kuuza, kwa mfano unaenda kuuza avocado ziko branded au maembe yako branded, umeshakuwa canned, au unapeleka hizi ni crips ambazo zimekuwa branded na nini, mchele kama ulivyokuwa unasema, kwenda East and Central Africa, you should be protected. As long as you have your brand, you are good.
So actually, I'm actually going to go to the song at the end because we have a few minutes left, and I think I'm going to start wrapping up because there's so much on this. We could just keep talking. You know, what are your top recommendations or words of advice or encouragement for future investors in Tanzania?
Very simple. Embrace intellectual property. Register your trademark. If you have a patent, you have an invention, do your patent registration, do your corporate registration. I feel it's about that high time whereby we need to look into intangible assets as something of value when it comes to business and investment. There are so many companies you'll be surprised who are going around trying to convince them. Ask them first, like, you have this product, have you registered? So they will just like 2 or 3 products, but another like 20 they're not registered, but they're not even aware of Aripo. You have Aripo whereby it's cheaper, you don't have to go and file in Kenya, I mean Uganda, Zimbabwe, Zambia. You can simply, we file for you for Aripo, and then you are protected in all these countries, they don't know. So I say knowledge is key. People should take heed of this and see that as an asset. IP ni asset yako ya biashara.
And of course, get a good lawyer. So, you know, Sunday, I'm going to start wrapping up the show now. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just to say that I wish to thank you for this opportunity. Yes, I think it's pivotal, and I believe there is so much we can talk about, and there is so much to cover. Just on trademarks alone, there is so much we could talk about, and I feel kwamba watu wanahitaji kupata uelewa, ni kitu kizuri mnakifanya. I haven't seen wengi radio nyingi wanaongeleaga labda IP, copyright, wasanii na hivi, hawagusi wafanyabiashara. Yani hamna kitu kikubwa kama wafanyabiashara sasa hivi, especially now Tanzania nakimbia. Kila mtu sasa hivi anaogopa, hadi Kenya anaogopa kwamba tutapita kwenye uchumi na vitu kama hivyo. Na ni kweli, the country is running. Isingekuwa the Ukrainian war labda na COVID, tungekuwa mbali sana. Kwa hiyo nasema kwamba mimi nashukuru sana Mjini FM, thank you kwa kunialika. Whenever you feel like we can come as ABC attorneys kwenye hili na mengine, kwa sababu we have different departments. Kwenye mambo litigation tupo, kwenye dispute resolution pia tupo, lakini kwenye business we have a very good department kwenye mambo ya investment. We are bringing investors kwenye mambo ya mining na nini vitu kama hivyo. Kwenye agriculture we feel like it's backbone and it's key. sio kwa hapa, tuna Zanzibar pia. Kwa hiyo anytime you have, please. Laws za Zanzibar wengi wazijui, sisi ni nchi moja. Watu wanasahau, wanaona kama Zanzibar ni sehemu tofauti, lakini hapana. Na Mheshimiwa Mwinyi kule na he's doing amazing things, especially kwenye IP area. Tunaongelea fintech, the Silicon Hub ambayo itakuwa kwenye technology peke yake. Zanzibar is
itakuwa ni it's the next big thing for tech.
Kabisa. It's the Dubai of tech, that is what is happening.
Yeah, with the big building they want to build as well, the tallest building. So, thank you so much, Sunday, for taking the time out. I know you have a busy schedule. So thank you for being with us and discussing such an interesting and important topic, which is really useful for SMEs as well as international investors who are looking to trade here. If you haven't, if you've just tuned in, by the way, you're listening to Business Lab. This is your weekly show about economic growth and business opportunities in Tanzania. You can catch the replay on Genie FM, on our YouTube channel, or on geniefm.com. From the whole team at Genie FM, we would like to wish you a very, very happy Eid, and we will see you at the same time next week in the same place at 92.5 Genie FM.
Asante.